Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 209 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekly edition, and in this edition you can tell I'm in my welding gear already. We're going to do some what I call weld working, where we weld and do some metal work now so that we can do better woodworking later. So we're going to be working on my scroll saw stands again and getting them done, and hopefully by the end of this video there'll be one complete. So if you want to see how that's going to work, all you need to do is stay tuned. Bust out the MIG welder again today. This is pretty much where we left off last day. I remember posing with this. But today what's going to happen is we're going to do not quite final assembly. We're going to plug weld this together so it no longer racks or is unstable. That's so important. And then we're going to, probably the video after that, I'm going to paint it, and the bolts are getting painted black like these are, so we'll do that in 2 stages, and then away we go. So yeah, without any further delay, the first step when you're doing plug welds is to drill a hole. So let's head over to the drill press. Well, the first step when putting together metal using plug welds, the first thing you need to do is drill holes. So I'm going to drill 2 1/2-inch holes in here and plug weld that, and what that'll do is it'll keep it from racking. So where you put them isn't really that important. For my application, I want to make sure that I can still get the bolt, the washer and nut on without having to grind weld. And the other thing is, the hole needs to be completely backed by the metal on the other side. You know what I mean? So once I get putting these together, I'll put a joint together and you'll be able to see it then. But for right now, I'm just drilling 1/2-inch holes. So pretty straightforward stuff. I'm using this block of wood, and I know it looks really kind of bush league, but it kind of works and it protects the table. And yeah, I know it's kind of goofy, but like I say, it works. So anyway, here we go. And I don't need to clamp this down because I can hold this quite nicely. And that, I call them Unibits. That's a brand name, I know. Step Bit is another name. But I really like these things. Gets a little covered with wood at the end, but oh well. Okay, and here we go again. We'll drill one joint for you. There we go. That's that. Now, there's a lot of, what would you call it? Metal dross on the back here that shouldn't be there, but I'll take my 4 1/2-inch angle grinder with flap disc and just take it off. So, and I have on the first stand, I've been working a little bit already trying to not always show you the very first thing that I do. So I've got these 2 holes to drill in this end yet, and then all the holes are drilled. So I'm just going to keep on going, and I'm going to do that, but you probably don't need to see that. So we'll move you on, but I'm going to finish up. Okay, well, I tried to make myself a little bit of a welding background here. I've played a little bit with it. Like I said, I really hate welding in this shop yet, but we're going to get there. So anyway, I'm going to move a little bit of stuff here. And here's my 4 1/2-inch grinder with flap disc. And there we go, we're ready to weld. Well, I realize I've talked a lot about or the plug weld itself, but I've never really explained what it is. Well, when you're plug welding something, basically you want to join two pieces of metal. So you have your backer piece and the piece you want to join to it. So that has the hole in it. So you put it one on top of the other like that. And I usually try to start the puddle in the middle and then go around and work to the outside. So I always like to kind of treat this like a little mini fillet joint at the end here. You want to make sure that that's all nicely filled. So anyway, I'm going to bring you in close and I'm going to try to do one. The pressure's on. Well, we're about ready to get started here. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see this and that my head doesn't get in the way. So we're going to give this a try here. Okay, so I want to start right in the middle. And the key is you got to hold your gun pretty close. And sometimes I start and then I mess up. So, but anyway, here we're going to try it. And there you go. Not too bad. If I was going to critique this, I it's not too bad on that side. This side flowed out nicer. But yeah, that's a plug weld. So, and they're really quite strong. They're not as good as say welding a fillet weld or something like that, in my opinion. But they'll be great for what we're doing. Well, now that all the holes are drilled for the plug welds, I off camera I loosely assembled it, like it's together. The bolts are holding it, sort of, but it's in the right shape. So now I need to know this angle. It's sure been handy having this saw stand as a reference. So copying in this case is a lot easier than building from scratch. So what I'm going to do is take my device here and just put it in that corner there. That looks right. I'm going to tighten it. And then I'm going to test it again. And that's awesome. Okay, so now I've got that angle. It's a little over 90 degrees, as you can see. And I don't really know what it is, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to take this over to the scroll saw stand that I'm building. And I'm just going to transfer this and tack weld it in place. So we'll see you over. I've got a new welding area today. It's much better than the other day. Okay, we'll be over there right away. Well, as I said in the previous segment, I assembled this off camera. It's, I don't know, I just kind of forgot to turn the camera on. It's unwieldy to put together at first because pieces, you get a bolt in, but it's not tight. And then pieces fall all over the place. And I needed three hands really to do this. So I just decided that I would put this together. And then I thought about it about halfway through and thought, you know what? I'll just explain it. So yeah, it's together. I need to set the angle yet. It's probably close. But what I did, what my plan was, is this whole assembly is quite loose yet. It moves. And I thought what I would do is actually clamp the joints together with little vice grips or whatever vice grips I had around. And that sounded like a good idea at first, but then I realized a few of these strategic joints here, if I just took a wrench and tightened the bolt up, it held well enough. And in fact, it holds about the right amount because I can tighten it up, but I can still make adjustments. So, one of the reasons for that, and I should have a bolt here to show you this. There we go. Okay, a couple of problems. Why my stand doesn't resist racking like the factory stand There's a couple of reasons. And now that I've had an evening to think about it, number one, well, maybe not number one, but the first reason is the shoulder on the carriage bolt. Hopefully, you can see that. It's pretty tall. Well, it's tall enough to go through two layers of steel. The other issue that I'm having that I didn't think would be an issue, but it's turned out to be, is this steel is about 20 thousandths thinner than the stand. So the bolts that they use come through their two layers of steel and make it so that the nut can still push things tight. Okay, that would help if I could have gotten that done, but with the materials I had, it just wasn't going to be. So there's no sense in crying over spilt milk, so to speak. We're just going to keep going. The other thing that the bolts not tightening properly caused is a little bit more of that racking effect. Now, as I explained the other day, the racking on that saw is dealt with by three dimples in the one piece that fit into three hollow dimples in the other piece. So that's when you bolt it together, it gets tight and it prevents racking. Now, I chose a different approach. I have a nice MIG welder here, and I like to think of myself as a bit of a welder yet. I drilled plug weld holes, and that's what I'm going to do. But there are other alternatives. If you wouldn't have had a welder to do this, um, self-tapping sheet metal screws would have worked just fine. The only thing you would not have been able to do is just start them and push them through. The steel is too thick for that. So you would have had to drill a pilot hole and put them in. That would have worked perfectly. And it would have probably been a lot faster than what I'm doing. Pop rivets would have worked. There's a multitude of other ways that you can get around this problem. I chose to deal with it with a welder and that's because that's what I have. Now the problem with this maybe is, can this stand come apart? No. Now, well, it could, but I don't want it to come apart. And if it has to come apart, I mean, I've had that saw for 10 years and I've never taken it apart. The person I picked it up from, we just threw it in the trunk of the car and away we went. So um, they transport with the stand, it's not that big anyway. So I thought I'd just take a minute and explain what I've done here because I didn't show you any of the assembly on camera. But yeah, those reasons are why I'm dealing with that racking now, and it's the way it is. You always run into little changes in your project when you're working on it. So don't let having to change your mind derail you. Just keep going. Pick a new path and go. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start tack welding or plug welding, sorry, this whole thing together. Now, what I may do, like a lot of these joints aren't quite tight. So when I'm welding them, I may just put a little vice grip on like that to suck it in. So, but you'll see that when I weld. I'm not sure how much of the welding I'm going to show you, but because you've already seen a little bit and not much has changed. In fact, this is going to probably be uglier because I'm working out of position. Once I get a couple of joints frozen, then I can flip things around and get things going. So anyway, we'll see you when I'm burning some wire. And now we're struggling to get things the way I had them again, or getting that angle on the front piece. And it's just funny how you have it, and then I moved it, and then I couldn't get it back. But thankfully, I have lots of clamps in this shop, and that they really help me out. And the plug welding begins. I can tell I hadn't welded for a while. I'm a little rusty, but as you keep going, you kind of get back into it, and things get better and better. But yeah, I think this is going to be a good, solid, sturdy stand. And as you get it a little more rigid, it gets easier to work with. So this was a good experience, and my new little welding area is actually, I think it has potential. We're going to keep developing it. So, well, I've got the front tack. That was the critical angle. Now the front I'm just gonna tack together, and I'm getting more and more into welding now. I had those plug welds were better than the previous ones I've done, so I've got it figured out again. And this little vice grip helps a lot as well. So I'm going to move that to back here and draw those two pieces of metal tight. Maybe that's why my first plug welds weren't as successful. Yeah, let's blame it on not using the vice grip. Rather that than my lack of welding skill. To weld well, you have to weld often, and I don't anymore. Okay, let's get going again. Hey, I'm getting it. Well, here I am going to make quick work of the rest of the welding. Once I got rolling, this didn't take very long. That little vice grip came in handy for clamping the two pieces together, which is quite important when you're plug welding. The two surfaces need to be in contact. Yeah, I'm really quite excited about these stands. I wish I had the other one to this point, but it seems like with YouTube, once I get one going, it seems to be all that I have the time to finish on video. So the other one's still in pieces, but most of the drilling is done and the cutting is done. So it would probably take me a day to get it to, or an afternoon to get it to this stage. But yeah, this works really well. And I think once the paint is on and the feet are on and the saw is mounted, it's going to look close enough to the other stand that I have to kind of fool the eye. And you know, it's not the same, and in one way I like that 2x2 steel better than the 1x2 on the other saw. This is just tougher. Well, what do you think? They're side by side. The tables by eye are exactly the same height. This one is a wee little bit not level in front, just a little bit, but that's going to be okay. And if I want to cheat a little bit, I'll just maybe weld a tab on the bottom of the leg and lift that a little bit. Like it's I don't know, not even an eighth, so it's nothing. But anyway, so yeah, it's plenty strong enough now to stand on its own. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take all the bolts out and make sure the holes are clean. And then these are all going to get painted black because those are black and I want them to look the same when they're done. So my goal is to have this look like factory stands when they're done. Now, there are going to be some differences, obviously, and I didn't weld anything on the bottom here like I said I was going to in the earlier video, but you know, that's what happens when you're designing on the fly. I had a rough idea of what I wanted. I had a prototype right over there, which was really handy. I didn't have to draw anything or scale anything or figure anything out. I just cut and went, and it's turned out quite well. Like I said in the video, I believe, I haven't edited yet, so I'm not sure. If you didn't have access to a welder, you could have done this differently. So I did give you, now I remember, I did give you a few options in the video. But I think what's going to happen at some point, not now because I don't have time, but at some point this is going to get covered so that students can put projects and wood and things like that on the stand instead of occupying other parts of my shop. So when they get here on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, they go to their saw with their stuff on it. I've got it plugged in and set, and they get their chair and away they go. So this should be very convenient when it's all done. But as far as the top goes, the only thing I have to do yet is drill holes to attach the saw, which is going to happen probably right away. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother showing you that. It's just drilling 3 holes. And then this stand, the next thing for it is paint. So I'll take a flap disc and I'll go around and deal with any inconsistencies. I'm thinking right now that maybe a lacquer thinner wash would get rid of the marker on it. And then once I've got this good, then I'm going to paint it. And it would sure be wonderful if I could get that done quickly, because the weather outside is wonderful. We've actually been above zero some of these days. So yeah, it's been wonderful. So if I could at least take it out and apply the paint and then bring it in to dry, that would help. But yeah, weather gets in the way of projects a lot when you're not quite properly set up. So yeah, speaking of setup, I think I've come up with a way to set it up in here so I can weld safely. I feel a lot better about welding today than I did yesterday, because you can't see it, but I've got a curtain hanging here, and I worked in this corner here. This is the overhead door, and I blew all the floors clean around here, put down some steel barriers so sparks couldn't go under things, and I think I can even do it better, and I'm going to. Now I know what I'm doing. So that'll be another video somewhere down the road. But I think my overhead door tracks are going to be the key to this. So anyway, with that in mind, yeah, like, share, and subscribe if you want to. If you don't, hey, enjoy this. And we will see you on the weekend edition coming up this weekend. Take care.